I think I might have said it before on this channel, I really don't remember, but I grew up loving superheroes. And Transformers too. But superheroes were cool. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Goku, the Power Rangers. Yes, I'm gonna count Goku and the Power Rangers as superheroes. I enjoyed watching their shows and movies, and for Spider-Man, I loved playing the game based off of the second movie for the GameCube. Now, I knew of games that existed for the other characters, but outside of something like the Budokai series for Dragon Ball, I didn't really get into gaming for the rest of these. That was until I got my Xbox 360, and I was able to play some games I heard a good amount for, as they've been out for a few years already by this point. Batman, Arkham Asylum, and Batman, Arkham City. I got hooked, and I have loved the series since then. And originally, I wanted to play Arkham Knight for this video, as Arkham Knight takes place in October, the night of Halloween. But I figured it would be a bit weird to start the third game and final entry of a trilogy, the fourth main game, and, I just figured to balance this out, I should start with the first entry, the original Arkham Asylum. It's the perfect candidate, especially since for me, it's the spookiest one out of the bunch. Our game begins with Batman having recently apprehended the Joker, taking him to the titular Arkham Asylum. But something here isn't right. Joker surrendered way too easily, a fact that both he and Batman are eager to point out. And thus we follow him and begin a long walk through the corridors of the asylum, escorting him as far as we are allowed. This is all very important as it establishes that the Batman we are playing as is already a seasoned crime fighter with a rogues gallery. Not only has he fought the Joker several times by this point, but we even see another of Batman's villains, Killer Croc. The same argument goes on to the later stages of the game as well, with us either seeing or hearing about Oracle, Robin, Two-Face, even some of the more obscure characters like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. It really makes us feel as if this is a lived-in world for Batman, rather than the first adventure he's having in the series, even if some of these Easter eggs and references later on got retconned. As we continue this walk, we find out what happened before the start of the game. Joker staged an explosion at Blackgate, which would send a bunch of his men to Arkham as kind of a backup plan for Blackgate until it gets fixed. For anyone who's not aware of their Batman lore, Blackgate is Gotham City's main prison where they hold all the non-insane and non-superpowered criminals. Think of people like mob bosses, the Penguin, random gang members, that sort of thing. Arkham's primary purpose is to be a mental hospital, hence the name. Although they also hold many of the violent patients, even outside of their patients, they are one of the few places in Gotham, if not the only place, they can hold some of the more superpowered inmates. So, someone like Killer Croc gets stored in Arkham. After proceeding as far as Batman is allowed to go, the Joker gets handed off to a guard and to hospital staff, where he promptly takes them both out and has Harley Quinn hijack the security gates to allow him to escape. The Joker and Harley now run the asylum, which is full of not only every inmate and supervillain currently in their walls, but also Joker's own personal gang that he got sent over from Blackgate. Batman, the hospital staff, and the GCPD are not equipped to handle the situation. Batman breaks through a window and the game truly begins here with a little combat tutorial teaching you how to attack and how to parry. Combat is very basic by this point as enemies don't have any weapons and there's only a handful of guys here. Batman doesn't have that many moves either. This won't be the case for too long though, as you progress the game, and especially into the later stages, we'll get a few more scripted sections like small combat encounters and even some stealth encounters, all of which are fairly simple still, and can include some stuff like stopping Victor Zsasz, a serial killer who cuts tally marks into his skin for every person he kills, or stopping a whole room full of Joker's thugs who have armed themselves with weapons stolen from guards. During these earlier sections, we also end up catching up with the Joker, and part of the truth behind the game comes out. Joker unleashes a giant, deformed, and quite frankly painful looking mutated goon for us to fight. This is a Titan. the first of several that we will fight throughout the game, and the creation of the Titans is one of the major mysteries of the game. What is Joker's plan here? Are the other supervillains connected to this? What are the Titans, and where do they come from? How do they get to Arkham Island? These are all questions that only the world's greatest detective can solve. From here, the game really starts to pick up, and you'll start to alternate between stealth sections and combat sections more often between your exploration. The reason for this is pretty straightforward. Guns hurt. Batman is armed to the teeth, but he's not immune towards weaponry, which is something that I actually kind of like about the game. Guns will shred your health. Knives and stun batons can't be blocked, and getting hit in the head with a bat or a metal pipe will cause the screen to be all discombobulated. It's a really nice detail to remind everyone that Batman's only human, despite all this armor and technology. Now, in these stealth sections, the enemies all have guns, so you want to sneak up on them and take them out without being seen easily enough. It's a little tedious, but as it goes on, not only will you unlock new abilities to take out these enemies, but the enemies will unlock new stuff for their side, like strapping explosive to the gargoyles to prevent you from using them. During these stealth encounters, the enemy AI actually changes as well, with the AI getting more paranoid as time goes on. Combat encounters, on the other hand, work pretty differently. They are very straightforward. Just knock everyone out through combat. Although just like with the stealth sections, as you unlock new upgrades and enemies will also unlock new upgrades and gear. Eventually you end up with enemies that throw stuff at you, enemies with knives, stun batons or like, and all of these are treated differently when fighting a large group. The amount of experience you earn in these combat sections is factored in by how many enemies you've defeated, how high your combo is, and you'll also gain a bonus for the more variations that you use in combat. Variations, in this sense, refer to the type of attacks used. So if you use nothing but your regular attack and your counter, that's only 2 variations. The combo throw would count as a 3rd variation, and so on. This here should motivate you to use as many different variations as you can, and keep as long of a combo as you can, and it's a very good gameplay loop. In fact, that's mainly all you'll be doing, so it's a good thing that the core gameplay loop is good. Arkham Island is fairly small, and most of your time you'll be spent exploring the labyrinthine halls of the asylum just on your way to the next objective. Maybe stopping along the way to solve a riddle or two, but then continuing on as if nothing changed. But this is fine. Arkham Island, and the 3 main buildings in the island, are amazingly detailed. The almost Metroidvania-esque design of the game is enhanced twofold by just how the asylum feels. It feels alive, as if it's haunted by its long, dark history, and this is even before Scarecrow starts making everything all spooky. I mentioned earlier that the game has plenty of references to a larger universe. I feel like both the atmosphere of the asylum and all these little details showing us that this is a Batman who's a good few years into his career really work together to make you truly, if you will forgive me for overusing this phrase, feel like Batman. And the writing here is nothing to stay away from either. The characters are exceptionally well written for the most part, and the game even has unlockable audio logs telling the different stories from the characters helps to get us established with the universe. While I may have some complaints with them, like maybe this game's version of Bane, the game does try its best to keep these characters recognizable and have the core traits of these characters be seen even through any changes that might be made. Even Bane's differences could very easily be explained by the story of the game itself, if it wasn't later on retconned in Arkham Origins, which, by the way, he was a really good adaptation in Arkham Origins up until the final encounter, just point that out. The Joker and the Riddler are 2 that really stick out here, as you'll be hearing from them constantly throughout the game, and they really manage to capture the essence of both of these characters, despite the fact that the Riddler never even appears on screen at any point. In fact, the only real complaint I have about the game is the lack of side content. And even then, that wouldn't be a complaint if the future games didn't go open world and introduce more side content. For the game that it is, Arkham Asylum is amazing. The Riddler's riddles and trophies are the only side content you get, not counting the unlockable combat and predator challenges. But it's fine, because the game doesn't really feel empty. You don't play Super Metroid and go, oh yeah, this game is great, but it could use more side quests, because it's just not that type of game. This is a game where Batman gets trapped on an island with several of his rogues gallery, and it's just good. The rogues gallery shows up as boss fights, the game manages to pull it off. The combat might not be as fluid as the other games, but it has weight to it. You don't have as many gadgets for stealth, but the map design is so well done that the stealth challenge maps still find ways to hit you regardless of this. It's just a very well-designed game for Batman fans, and it's no wonder that a lot of people considered it the best Batman game at the time.
Wake up, Mr. Wayne. We have much to discuss.
Strange? You won't get away with this.
I already have.